Hey, this is Jack, and this video is called Why Does He Ignore Me? Hey, welcome to my channel. If you're new here or you haven't yet subscribed, my name's Jack Butler. I'm a transformational coach, and this channel is all about authenticity, personal growth, real development, and dating. So if any of those themes are of interest to you, I'd love to have you as part of this community. And if you want a free resource, you can click the first link beneath this video. It's my guy checklist. If you're a woman that dates men and you're curious if a guy is actually investing in the connection, this is just 9 simple checks you can run him through to see if he's actually investing in you. All right, so let's get into today's video. Why does he ignore me? So firstly, let's just acknowledge if you're having the experience of being ignored, that is one of the more difficult human experiences. So you have my compassion for that. And what I think you're going to find with this video, I hope you'll find, is that we're going to dimensionalize some territory to see what is actually going on and to see if we can increase the possibility of you not having this experience that you are feeling ignored and actually getting more of the true attention that you want. So if that's of interest, stay around until the end. So the first thing, let's just get clear about some terms. So if we are truly having the experience, let me rephrase that. If someone is actually ignoring us, right, versus we're having the experience of being ignored, because they are not exactly the same thing. If someone is actually ignoring us, I'm going to assume that there is a volitional component to that, right? Fancy phrase just meaning someone actually wants you to have the experience I'm ignoring you, right? They are consciously ignoring you. And many of the times when you're having the experience of you being ignored, you may not actually know that. Right? So if someone's not consciously ignoring you, it might be true that they're not giving you much attention. It might be true that they're withdrawing, but that may actually be something different than they're ignoring you or that they want you to have the experience of feeling ignored. Now that might sound like it's just semantics to you, but they're actually quite different things, right? The more we own our experience, I'm feeling ignored, right? Rather than you are ignoring me, the more power and authenticity we have in our experience, the less judgment and separation we have from other people. So just if you take nothing else from this video, just the one thing of using an expression like I'm feeling ignored versus you are ignoring me can make all the difference in your experience and get you much closer to the thing that you actually want. So that said, why might someone not be giving you attention, right? So there are a few things I want to talk about here. So the first thing is we want to make sure that you are not subjectifying the other person, meaning there is probably a level at which and a way in which you can give another person attention, right? Or if you're dating a guy or in a relationship with a guy, you can give him attention. We don't want to assume that he has that same level and way of giving attention to you. Now, you get your authentic choice. You might say that, for me to be in relationship with someone, I need a minimum level of attention, and the ways I experience it, a bit like love languages, right? I experience it when we spend quality time, right? Or when he looks me in the eyes, or when he puts his hand on my shoulders, or when we make out, or, you fill in the blanks. So you have a right to want what you want, but I'm distinguishing your right to want what you want from a guy necessarily having to give that to you or being able to give that to you. Or from saying, you might give attention by, let's say, eye gazing. He might not do that, right? So I don't want you to assume that because he's not eye gazing with you that you're being ignored. He might be giving you attention in other ways, right? So this is a little bit like love languages, right? There maybe are attention languages that we could talk about, So it might be that you can learn to not subjectify him. So to not imagine, well, if he's sat in the chair looking in a different direction than me, that he is ignoring me. Because it could be true that if you were sat in that chair looking in another direction, you're ignoring someone. Like that's meaningful for you. You're doing that deliberately. But we don't want to make an assumption about someone else, right? Unless we super know them or unless we've actually explored it in this moment. So we have this mini expression, maximum curiosity, minimum assumption, right? Maximum curiosity, minimum assumption. Meaning maximum curiosity about the other person, as well as your own experience, and minimum assumption, I'm not going to assume that because he's doing this thing, it's because he wants me to be ignored. I'm going to try and check that out, right? So the way that you could check it out, even if this is not habitual language for you to use, is something like, I'm having the experience of feeling ignored, should I? Right? And it's not should I in the sense, maybe I could say it even more clearly. I'm having the experience of feeling ignored. Are you trying to ignore me? right? So I'm checking out whether my feeling ignored is correlated with your desire to have me ignored. Now, he might say, oh, babe, no, sorry, I'm just like completely stressed about this, you know, financial thing in front of me, right? Or, sorry, I am a bit checked out, I'm super tired, right? Or, I'm not feeling very connected with you, and so I'm just kind of zoning off in my own world, or, you know, I'm kind of busy right now, but is there something specific you need? So there could be a whole range of things that might be going on over there with him. This invites you checking them out, right? So let's say you've checked it out. Why might a guy want to withdraw his attention, right? So let's say that actually is going on. So one of the possible reasons is that he is in a withdrawn defense. So if he's withdrawing, and it's not just because, you know, he's zoned into a thing in front of him, but let's say he's actually trying to emotionally disconnect from you, normally that's a style of defense. Now, where this gets difficult is when you don't have that style of defense, or let's say it's not your primary style of defense, because it means you're less likely to understand it. If some person or partner is doing a thing that you do yourself, it might frustrate you, but normally you get it, right? So if you, let's say, use humor as a way to deflect, and you're with a guy who uses humor as a way of deflecting, you might be like, okay, yeah, I kind of recognize that because I do it myself, right? You're probably going to have more compassion for it. But if you don't withdraw, let's say if you, when you get defensive, perhaps you come on strong, right? You're like, you move into contact, right? And perhaps you get assertive, but you're with a guy who actually, when he wants to be defensive, he withdraws. That's going to be very confusing for you. Like, you don't get that pattern match internally, and it might bring up a lot for you. Now, I'm not here to say it's great for us to withdraw, right? But I am here to say we all have defensive styles, and withdrawing is one of them. So we want to get with the sort of reality that if you're with someone that's their primary thing, that may happen. The job then becomes, can you communicate the impact, right? Because he may not know that his withdrawing is having the impact it is. Now, he may consciously be withdrawing in order to hurt you. That is possible, right? And if you guys are in a fight, an argument, he may be doing that. But he may be withdrawing because it's the best he can do, all right? Like that's what the little him knows how to do to feel safe, right? So we don't want to poo-poo people's defenses. We want to see if we can partner with them and find more productive ways for both of us to get our needs met. It might be that you can train him to give you one sentence that is actually reassuring to you and gives you what you need, right? And that could be something like, I need to withdraw right now, and I will be back when I can be back, right? Or I need to withdraw right now, I can be back in an hour. Or he could say something like, I need to withdraw right now, and I still care about you, or I love you, right? So there's some kind of reassurance, but he's also acknowledging that's what he's doing. Because part of what can be difficult in this situation is your intuition, everything is screaming to you. He's withdrawing, but he's not narrating it or admitting it. And now you're kind of like second guessing yourself, or you guys are having a different, an unshared reality, right? So even if we're in difficult territory, the more we can have a shared reality, generally the easier it's going to be. So you might be able to train him, and maybe he can't say that. Maybe he can text it to you. Maybe he can get a clipboard and write it on it. Maybe the best that can happen is you can text him, I notice you're withdrawing. Am I right? Do you still care about me? And that he might just be able to write back, yes. So I'm a pragmatist, whatever works, right? It's training. It might get better through time, but ideally it's you partnering with him to say, hey, there's a thing that I need when this thing goes down. And there's something he might need. He might need you to know that when he's in the withdrawn defense, what most helps him is just to give him 5 minutes of space and treat him like he's normal. Or to actually just go to another room, bury your head in your own stuff, and then he'll come find you when he's ready. Or what he might need is not to talk, but to actually just hug and embrace. Who knows? He might not even know what he needs. You might be able to discover it through time. But do you get what we're saying here? We're taking your experience of feeling ignored, noticing that it is accurately because he's withdrawn. We're giving him a right to withdraw because it's his defensive style, but we're trying to work through time on reducing our defensive styles. There's a lot going on here, right? But this is practice. This is kind of the juicy stuff. Now, you may not be able to find productive ways forward, but let's see and let's try. The other thing that you can do is notice, okay, so what happens to me when I'm having the experience called I'm feeling ignored? What happens to me? Do I get self-critical? Do I start to dysregulate? Do I start to have catastrophic anticipation and think of all the things that could go wrong? Do I start to get super anxious? what's going on, because I might be able to learn to build my tolerance for the experience called I'm feeling ignored without running a slippery slope of other beliefs and kind of cascading fears. You might, over time, be able to make a lot of gains on your side of the fence, right? You may still have a preference for, I prefer it when I'm attended to, and I don't like it when I feel ignored. That may always be true for you, but we might be able to turn the volume down. We might be able to take the edges off, and we might be able to grow your tolerance for, okay, I'm feeling ignored. Let me notice there's a younger part of me, right, that might be present right now. Maybe I had the experience that I always felt ignored by my older sibling or my mother or my father, my aunt, my caregiver, my teacher. And that's a little bit in here. Like the strength of the response isn't just from him. Maybe there's something else in here. Maybe I can learn how to get other forms of attention, right? The first one being, can I give high quality attention to myself? Can I do that? The more I can do that, it might be that I still super love it and enjoy it when he gives it to me, but I experience it a little bit more like it's upside. And when it doesn't happen, there's less impact on the downside because there's still someone giving attention to me. I'm present. I'm here. I've got my own back. I'm not abandoning me. I'm right here. It could be there are other attention buckets that you can fill, right? This is kind of like the idea of love buckets, right? There's love from an intimate, but there's also love from God. There's love from self, there's love from community, there's love from friendship. There's all sorts of love buckets that we can fill. And if we're always looking over there and like, that's the one that has to be filled, when it's not, it's going to feel really, worrisome and threatening. But if I've got all these other buckets filled, maybe I can just relax a little bit. Maybe it still knocks me. Maybe it's still the deficit, but it doesn't feel quite so gripping, right? It's not absorbing in the same way. It's more like a preference. Maybe it's a little bit less than a dire need, right? So we can start to recalibrate possibly how we experience some of these things. If you are practicing giving attention to yourself, it might be something you've never really practiced before. So you might have a story of like, oh my gosh, I hang out with myself all the time. I might be saying that there's a quality of attention that you're not able to give yourself currently, like super slowed down, attuned attention. Hey buddy, where are we right now? What do we need? What do I need? What's going on? Let me grab my journal. Actually, you're a little tired. Like, let's get some food. Let's have a drink. Let's rest. What's going on in my body? What am I really feeling? I feel sad, but what's that about? Let me inquire into that, right? So it's like a deeper level of contact, connection, curiosity about yourself. So that's always good practice. The more you can do that, the less pressure you're going to feel that you need it probably in any other particular direction. Now, could it be that there is some mismatch here that you just know yourself? You're like, look, I need a high level of attention. I'm just going to own it. It's always been true. And this person isn't able to give it to me. Yeah, it could be. It could be some kind of deal breaker. But we'd want you to exhaust some of these other possibilities and find out more about what's true for you. And to get you more in rapport with the experience of I'm feeling ignored without putting it firstly on the other person, and helping you find more productive ways to be with another person to get more of what you want, which is actually like connection, probably, right? Feeling connected to the other person. And that's a great thing. We want you advocating for that. We want you, fighting for that, but in a way that actually gets you closer to what you want and doesn't push the other person away. So to recap, high quality attention from yourself to yourself. Don't subjectify him. Don't imagine that because he's not giving you attention. By the way, most men probably need less attention possibly than women, or certain vectors of attention. So don't just imagine that because there's a thing you can do that he should be able to do it, or that he even wants to do it. He might not even be thinking about that and just might not be tracking it. You could educate him over time, but there might always be something that he's not quite doing in the way that you might be a super people person that you can just lavish attention on people all the time. You always already do it. He might not be like that, right? So don't subjectify him. Get curious about him and experience, maximum curiosity, minimum assumption. Check it out, right? I'm feeling ignored. Is that your experience? I would like to feel more connected to you. Do you feel available for that? Or maybe you don't even need to narrate it. Maybe you can just say, can I have a hug, right? That might just be the quickest path to connection. Can we have a cup of tea? Sound a bit British, but can we sit down together, have a drink? And then practice filling up these other attention buckets and being with yourself and soothing in that experience if you can. And it may or may not be available, but if you can, so that when that nerve gets hit, it's called I'm feeling ignored, it's picking up less of the past less of the past is reverberating, and you're growing your tolerance and capacity to be with it. So that's what I think. If you are dating right now and there's a guy and you're not sure whether he's showing up, click the first link beneath this video. He's your guy checklist. 9 simple steps you can run any guy through. Please subscribe to the channel. I'd love to have you with us. I hope you've got a sense by now that I'm trying to share with you meaningful stuff. This is not just gimmicky tips and tricks. That's other channels. I think if you want that, this is a different thing. Also, if you want to do deeper work with me or you're curious about that, there'll be a link beneath this. The second link it should be, which is about my group program. It's the first time I've run something that's running for 6 months. I would love to have you as part of it. Check it out, see if it's resonant. And as always, I'm Jack. Thanks for being here.